The Angry Chicken is a production of amove.tv. Check out Amove TV for more podcasts covering Blizzard games. And for more of Jocelyn's gaming podcasts, visit josplays.com. The Angry Chicken is brought to you by our legendary patrons over at patreon.com/TAC.
Time's up. Let's do this.
Legendary!
You face Jaraxxus. You smell like a leopard gnome. I knew it. So hot.
A podcast about Hearthstone and Battlegrounds. Wait, what's Battlegrounds?
I'll explain later. Just keep going.
This is The Angry Chicken!
This is The Angry Chicken. I hope everybody is ready for a classic podcast today. I'm Garrett Weinzierl.
Oh, snap!
Here as always with the snap herself. No, that's not a thing. It's never been a thing. That's like never been your catchphrase. But nonetheless, Jocelyn Carney is here to chat Hearthstone. How you doing, Joss?
I'm doing pretty good. It was a wild week in Hearthstone news, so I can't wait to get into it with Ridiculous Hat.
Yeah. Here's the setup for Hat, everybody. I had such a shit show of a beginning of a week. I was fairly certain I wasn't going to be here. I'm pretty sure I got food poisoning, and then I also had to have like some routine blood work. And if you know me very deeply and personally, you know that I have extreme phobia of needles, and it ruins my entire day and usually messes up my sleep cycle with all of the anxieties that follow that. I was certain. I was like calling it. Monday, I'm like, nope. This week is off to a bad start. I'm going to take a mulligan, Joss. I'm going to need Wednesday night off. The news in Hearthstone this week is so big and so juicy and so delightful. I couldn't sit it out. That being said, we were like, we need someone to fill in for Garrett because his life is a mess and he himself is a mess. And so, of course, we were like, yo, Hat, get in here. But then I was so excited I showed up. So, Hat, man, welcome back to the show.
Thanks. I love the implication that I and my life are not a mess by extension. Thank you for that very kind phrasing.
Did I insinuate that? I mean,
I think the implication is that if being a mess keeps you off the show and I'm on the show, I must not be a mess. That's how that works, right?
Okay, gotcha. I mean, to me now I'm wondering, like, is it a mess? It sounds like you want to talk about it. I'm here for you.
Nope, it's totally fine. Everything is fine.
Okay, cool.
I'm just glad to be
We're
here.
having group therapy instead.
Yes.
Welcome.
I'm just glad to be here with the core cast.
Oh.
As long
What a
as
classic line.
Hey, well, you all have such a legacy to live up to.
I'm just going to run down the hall to find the next famous segment.
This is a lot more like erudite than the pre-show where we just made dick jokes for like 10 minutes. So I'm glad we got it out of our systems, I guess.
We all put on our ridiculous hats for this pun-filled introduction. But yes, we're back. It's a big Hearthstone week. There is a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the new core set. We're going to talk about the legacy set. We're going to talk about classic Hearthstone. We're going to talk about the BlizzCon schedule, which in traditional fashion is coming out at the 11th hour. But before we do that, we want to thank those of you who are supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. So if you like what we're doing here, if you like hearing our takes, if you like it when we keep you up to date on what's going on in the Hearthstone world, we don't get paid by Blizzard, despite what like 0.8% of our reviews on iTunes say. We're not paid by them. We're not. I'm sorry. I wish I was. I'd have a much more positive outlook on things if that were the case. I would never have a bad thing to say about this game if that were the case, but that isn't the case. We are, however, paid by lovely people supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. So if you like us here on The Angry Chicken, you want to support us, check it out. Patreon.com/TAC. Get some perks, get in the Discord, and also get an ad-free version of the feed. So we got a few new patrons in the last week. So thank you to David Shutt. Thank you to D&D with Kids, which strikes me as a name for possibly a YouTube or another podcast or some sort of content in general. So you might want to try Googling D&D with Kids. And also thank you to Sean C. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to our latest patrons. Hope you enjoyed the Discord. If you have a question for us, at us in that Discord. But there's a lot to talk about this week, so we're going to dive right in. Let's get into this week's Hearthstone news.
Good news, everyone!
Introducing... Joce, do you have like a drum roll? Do you have...
No,
can you... The core set! The core set.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I got you, Garrett. I got a soundboard.
There was definitely some ducking there, but it worked. The core set is here. It's here, and so is Ridiculous Hat's somewhat functioning soundboard. Yeah, this is just a bomb drop ahead of BlizzConline, which already it kind of makes sense to me. Like, we know we're due for a new expansion launch, so it makes sense they're giving us some major news ahead of it to probably open up space for conversation about other things around Hearthstone. But yeah,
this really feels to me like they're kind of getting some of the little nitty gritty stuff, the more technical stuff out of the way ahead of time so that we can go into the fun, splashy, colorful new expansion, whatever that may be, and just be like, oh, cool, new expansion things, instead of like, wait, what? How many cards are doing what things? What's happening? You know, like taking those pieces out of the conversation.
Yeah.
They just want BlizzCon to be hype.
My head is in the same place. Like, I'm pretty sure there was like a meeting where they're like, all right, what do we definitely want to like really hype up at BlizzConline? And then like, what do we want to, you know, what's more technical that's maybe not as exciting and eventful that we can announce ahead of time that like our core fan base will still be really stoked about, but it'll give us, you know, open things up. At the same time, I also wouldn't be surprised if someone at Blizzard right now is listening to this and snickering because they're like, oh, you think we actually had that much time to decide on this? We were given a really hard deadline out of nowhere and we just had to scramble. Who knows? Who knows how it went
Scramble
down.
though. Like, this clearly was a decision that's been going on for a while. We had we talked to Chad, to Celestalon, in the late Ashes meta over on Coin Concede, and he was talking back then about when Zephrys rotates, it's going to have a static pool. And now the static pool is going to be the legacy set. And it makes a lot more sense when you look back. They've been working on this for a while. But I think the reason this is a blog post, and it's kind of crazy that like before the big convention where they tell us everything, this is the appetizer. Like, holy shit, this is so much stuff. But they're giving us the economic info up front because they don't want people to be mathing it out at the show. They want you to know very clearly.
This is like inherently technical, right? It's like, welcome, BlizzCon, introducing the core set. Things are changing for classic and basic. Fireworks goes off. All right. I've got like 40 slides here, and every single one has at least 18 bullet points. Let's get into it. 88 cards are returning from class. Like, that wouldn't play well at BlizzCon.
This is the FAQ and the what you need to know, and that you don't need to spend any money, and really we promise you don't need to spend any money, and no, we mean it, no money, of announcements. They clearly are adapting, and Ixar's AMA has been really clear. He talked about this, I think, last week on his last AMA about how whenever they make a change, it needs to be really obvious to players at face value that it's better for them, and they did that here. They had to have had some kind of internal shift after what do we call it? Achievement gate? Progression gate?
Reward track gate?
Track gate.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah, because it was right up at the top of this blog post too, that it just said like, the core set is free in bold. And I was like,
yes.
There's that kind of messaging you need to get out there. Like, even before they said exactly what was going on, they were like, this is free.
Yeah, you read this line.
Perfect.
Yeah, you read this line. The core set will be free for all players. Before you even continue that sentence, you just go, wait, what's the core set? All I know is it's free. And it's like, that is by design. All they want you to understand is that this is going to be free, because as the sentence continues, it will replace basic and classic and standard as a curated selection of 235 cards. So, because if they were just like, hey, if they started with basic and classic is going away, it'd be like, well, wait, but my value and the money I've spent collecting my set and yada, yada, yada.
By the way, the core set is 235 cards. You could just imagine like the Reddit post that wouldn't even get the rest of the way through the blog post without going, rage!
This is positioned that if you open this blog post on your cell phone, free is before you have to scroll. You can see you without scrolling. It is like, this needs to be super visible.
Yes. Yeah. It's well communicated. So
yes.
It's been so long since we talked about this, Joss. I frankly do not remember where you stand, but I feel like you and I have moved in and out of agreement for years on the fact that the classic and basic set really doesn't work like as a long-term bedrock of the standard card pool.
Yeah, I never really thought that they would just come straight out and replace it. I kind of thought that they would maybe like rotate stuff out through Hall of Fame and then replace some things that needed replacing, like they did with some of like the priest cards and stuff, how we had some priest cards taken out with the whole class revamp, and then we got new classic basic cards put in to replace some of the things that they changed or removed. So that was kind of where my head was at, is things I thought that they would do. And because I've never played another card game anywhere near as seriously or as long as Hearthstone, like I didn't really have a frame of reference for if an entirely new like core set or like what that would look like or whatever. Like I didn't know if that would be good or bad. So I never really weighed in on it. I more looked at it from what I thought Blizzard might do. And I mean, on the one hand, I'll be totally honest, like, you know, a few years ago, Jocelyn kind of thought maybe Hearthstone wouldn't even come this far, you know, like we're now 7 years into Hearthstone. Like, who knows if it would last long enough? You know, Magic's been around for whatever, 30 something more years. I don't know. Like, who knows if Hearthstone had that kind of longevity? I didn't. So, I mean, I'm super glad we're still here, but I mean, I didn't know that in 2016, 17, right? So
yeah, I mean, I've told the story before. It's actually been a long time, I think, since I've referenced it. But when we started the Angry Chicken, one of the things that was in our very first meetings was, we'll start weekly. We don't know if there'll be enough regular content to keep it going weekly. And what a sweet summer child I was.
right.
thinking that. But yeah, so here we find ourselves. So yeah, basic classic set is
yeah. So I don't think I really had an opinion necessarily on whether basic classics should be replaced or if they should do a core set, just because I didn't have that frame of reference really. I was like, well, if they do it, cool. And if they don't, I hope that we don't see like the same rogue core in every single world championship for every single year going forward. Because
what a sweet summer child you were.
Yeah, well, no, but I mean, like, there were some cards in Basic Classic, and, you know, Mage is guilty too, where they just had some stuff that was just always there, and it was like, oh, man, really? Okay, we've been doing this for 6 or 7 years now. Like, something's gotta change, but yeah. So I'm glad they're doing that. This sounds really awesome. The part that I really like is where they talk about how it's curated. So it's not like they're making another Basic Classic set. It's like every year we're going to get a new core set and that's going to change. And that, I think, is probably the most interesting part of this whole announcement, is the fact that it's going to be like a constantly shifting thing so that they can adjust it for whatever expansions they have coming down the pipeline and whatever kind of meta they want to see going into that Hearthstone year. And I think that is awesome.
Yeah, it's something I've wanted for a really long time. It was something I kind of expected to happen like a year after standard years became a thing, and it just never came. And like, you know, I find kinship in other Hearthstone creators, but this is one of the things where like, I don't think I've ever agreed with someone for so long, so profusely. And in this case, it was Brian Kibler, because he's been beating the kill basic classic set with fire drum forever. And I just completely agree with him. And always have. And so like, I was, first thing I did was like, I wonder how happy Kibler is right now. I took a peek on his Twitter, and the answer is very. Very.
He's so happy that when recording the YouTube video about the topic, his Fitbit counted as a workout. His heart rate went high enough that it registered as a workout. So I think he's into it. And I remember him talking about this specifically. There's this article I read in 2016 that was all about the first like really big summit they did, where they brought in a bunch of like content creators and gamers and all that. And do you remember this article? I know it's a long time ago, but it talked a lot about the phrase exit points. The phrase exit points came up a lot, where when something goes away, that's where a player closes the game and doesn't open it again. And this is kind of where we first found out about the red X problem, where when there's a rotation or something goes away, your decks get the red X.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look closely, I think they've been working on this for literally years, because the red X problem and the convert to wild and the smart deck builder were all created so that if something happened to your deck, if the cards in your deck changed, you click it twice and then you press play and you're fine. They've been working towards that for so long. And now they can finally do this because they have the technology and the resources and the tenured player base where they can change the very foundation the game is built upon. And if you're playing Fireball instead of Forgotten Torch, it still feels magey and fiery and whatever. But players having to change their decks is a lot of work of the players, and they have to do research outside the game. With the machine learning and the smart deck builder and never seeing a red X, you just see convert or update, and then it does it for you, and then you go play and your deck feels about the same. But maybe with some new twists, it's a lot smarter. And they learned a ton from Battlegrounds too. When you give everyone everything, you can change what you want because no one's losing out.
Right.
Yeah. So let's do the Excel spreadsheet like breakdown of exactly what the hell
it actually is.
The core set is. So for our audience or audio listeners out there, anyone just isn't caught up, out of those 235 cards, this is the core set, at least as it's going to be for this first year. 88 cards are returning from the classic set, 54 of which will be class cards. The remaining 34 will be neutral. 54 cards will be returning from basic, 41 from class, 13 are neutral cards. 55 cards are returning from wild. So we're getting wild cards reintroduced into standard with, at least for now, the express purpose of being here for an entire standard year. 36 of those wild cards will be from class cards. The other 19 will be neutrals. And then we get to making sure Demon Hunters even have enough cards to play. Sorry, Jocelyn, but they are actually concerned about Demon Hunter being playable. 4 cards are returning from Ashes of Atland for Demon Hunter, and then 4 cards are returning from Demon Hunter Initiate. Well, I shouldn't have to say, but I will, for Demon Hunter. And then one card is returning from Hall of Fame, and it is Shadow Form. And they haven't revealed all of the returning cards. As a matter of fact, they revealed very few of the returning cards. So you go, well, one's coming back from Hall of Fame and it's Shadow Form. That sure gives me at least an inkling of where Priest is going. And it sure doesn't sound like it's resurrecting things.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
It's at least Shadow Form Priest, probably not about resurrecting like it could be. But Dean said in a recent AMA that he wanted to make Shadow Form or Shadow Priest a part of the game because they've tried so hard to make it happen. And it feels bolted on every time they try and do it. Like, Priest, it does Healy stuff and draws cards, and sometimes they Mind Blast you. Why? So they're trying to figure out something there, and I wouldn't be surprised there might be some more synergistic hero power cards based on it, but I hope they make Shadow Priest work because it's a very evocative thing, and when they printed Surrender to Madness, that card's so bad. That card's so unplayable.
Which is funny because the WoW talent was like game-breakingly good that they had to nerf it. So like
in EN, it was insane. Like they had to nerf it for Xavius, but like but in Hearthstone, if you play it, you nerf your own mana curve. So like
Yep. And then Alec Dawson.
Sorry, wait. So we talked about before we get to the Alex quote. We talked about Shadow Form. Did we talk about the new cards? That we're getting 29 new cards?
Oh, yes. Sorry. We are also getting 29 new cards, 20 of which will be class and 9 of which will be neutral.
Yeah,
like new
29 brand spanking new, not tied to any expansion or anything. Just ta-da, new cards for the core set.
Yes.
Like,
which, again, are available for free.
Yes.
And so, yeah. And then there's also the Alec quote, which I don't want to linger on for too long because we have no idea what changes are going to be made. But Alec did point out that some changes will be made to some of the returning cards. Quote, some stay the same, some change. That's it, in reply to someone on Twitter. But as to this being free, you do still need to earn these cards. However, it's not a very high bar that you need to clear. You're going to earn core set cards by leveling up each class. All core set class cards are going to be rewarded between the levels of 1 to 10 for each class. So don't worry, you don't need to take them up to 60. It's fine. And then neutral core set cards will unlock based on the sum of all your class levels combined up to the combined level of 60, which means you don't even need to unlock all your class cards to get all the neutral core set cards. And then
you could have like 6 classes up to level 10 and bam, you've got the neutral core set. So
Yes,
it's a combined level.
That is in
60.
fact addition. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm glad you're doing it because I actually did have to think about it for a minute. Golden versions of core set cards. Oh, yes, Hat?
Sorry?
What wild cards do y'all want to see come back?
Oh, Haunted Creeper. Give it to me. Give it to me now.
For me, I mean, I've ever since we had the Doom in the Tomb event, I really wanted to see Lothab. I was so upset that he wasn't included in that set. So Lothab gets my #1 vote, but I think Zombie Chow too. That anti-aggro tool.
Y'all really like Nax, huh? You're big
Nax
Nax fan.
was so good. It was so impactful. It was so impactful. Those 3 I think still hold up to like modern
I think
Hearthstone
they'd still
sensibility.
be playable. Yeah.
They're powerful neutrals sometimes make things a little samey, and so they are powerful neutrals that you would play in a lot of decks, but like they're cool cards. They don't do a ton of things like Lothab anymore, like they did Cult Sorcerer Acolyte, something.
Yeah,
The 2-drop.
Hear me out. They can change it in a year. Like how
That is true.
How freeing is that with the idea?
It's extremely.
Like let's stay under this umbrella that you popped up so courteously for us, Hat, of strong neutrals make things kind of samey. Like that's really freeing to be like, well, in a year, if it's too homogenous, like, get it out of there.
Yeah, or sooner. It's
right.
If they put Tar Creeper in. Tar Creeper is in every deck, and aggro is bad. They can like, all right, we're booting Tar Creeper out. And do you get a dust refund? No, because how much did it cost? How much did it cost? It was free.
It was free.
None.
And we replaced it with something else. We brought in
$0.
Crappy McCrappy card that will not be included, but it's there, and you have it.
Overconfident Orc. We gave you a discount, Tar Creeper. I don't know. Yeah, they can do that whenever they want. You're right. It is really freeing to have just like a sealed box of free cards. They can do whatever they want with it, and they are not beholden to like. There's no reason they can't change them, so they can just change them. And especially if they're breaking down the wall of like, they already got us used to it by ripping off the band with Edwin. Like looking at Edwin with a 4 still feels unnatural. But if they're already like, if they bring Shadow Step back for some reason, but make it reduced by 1 instead of 2, they're already kind of changing I guess we'll go back in time, the soul of the card. And so they can keep doing that if they want to. They aren't stuck with the way it was printed originally.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I can't believe Josh said Lothab, but it wasn't me.
I just had to get it in there real fast.
I forgot about Lothab. I'm going to be honest. Like I forgot about it.
You know who I really want to see come back?
Ben Brode is not an option. You can't request that Ben Brode returns.
No, I was just waiting for someone to say who so I could say none of your business.
No, Mister. Listen, I abused the shit out of Secret Paladin. We cannot have Mysterious Challenger return. No.
But the Christmas tree.
I'm kind of hoping secrets go away for Paladin. I kind of want to see secrets move to Rogue, like in the core set, and I kind of want to see Paladin lose them and get like minions. Because do you know in vanilla Hearthstone, which we'll talk about in the future of this episode for some reason, do you know how many Paladin minions there are in Classic and Basic?
I'm just gonna tell you no. I don't know.
4. There are 4 Paladin minions. Not enough. Paladin needs more minions.
Tyrion and probably one more.
Yes, there is Tyrion, Argent Protector, Guardian of Kings. I can't even remember the 4th one. They're not good cards. Yeah. So
Tyrion is.
Well, Tyrion's fine. He's fine. He gets silenced a lot. I'm hoping for the return. I was hoping for a couple cool class cards that I was thinking back. I want Lava Shock because I think Shaman manipulating their own overload is a cool thing. It's not like game breaking, but overload sucks. And so like being able to overdraft your credit card and then cancel it with an interest transfer. Yeah.
Overload sometimes sucks, right? And I liked that there was this like delineation between yay overload decks and mitigate overload decks.
When Tunnel Trog is around, yes, overload is better, but we don't want Tunnel Trog to be around.
I mean, you could also buff your weapon if you are currently overloaded. You can give attack to your minions if you are currently overloaded. It's taken many forms over the years.
Like Landslide is a cool design. And the other card I really want to see back is Keeper of Uldaman. the 4-mana 3/4 transform a minion into a 3/3, or like resize it to a 3/3 when it comes to play.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that to me does feel like
it's very paladin-y.
Not in the way the term is about to what it's about to mean to us, but that does feel very classic paladin to me.
It's on par with the class identity, and it's different from current classic paladin in that it's a good card, but it fits classic paladin because it costs 4 mana. Because all of classic for paladin is just 4 mana cards, and so like having a good 4-drop that also like it can be used offensively, it can be used defensively. It's pretty good, but it's not too good, and it's a utility card. I'd like to see cards like that come back. Also, shout out.
Oh, shout out.
No, you do it. Go.
Oh, I was
I want Gazrilla to come back.
Oh, Gazrilla.
Do you remember Gazrilla?
I remember thinking I would eventually put it in my deck on purpose, and that day never came.
Yeah, but do you know Gazrilla stats? It's 7 mana. It's a 6/9.
I was gonna say it's a something 9. I remember I got into like a Trollden video with a Gazrilla video way back
so
in
cool.
like 2016. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's nice. That's what it is.
It's a nice minion.
It's a nice minion. Yeah. No, but back to Paladin. I also really like, instead of just looking back, I would really like to go to bat with. I like pure Paladin. It feels good. It makes sense with the class. I would not mind adjusting the class identity to be like, yeah, Paladin's like playing with all Paladin cards.
I'd be super cool if we kind of steered away from the Murloc Paladin identity. I don't want to see any old Murloc-y. Like, I don't want like any Finn like that. Yeah. No.
It's expensive spells that win you the game when you play them with Murlocs as like a symptom of those cards. Like, yeah, we don't want that. But I imagine we're probably not going to see the word charge much.
No, I think that stuff's all going to go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think any of the 88 returning from Classic, 54 from Basic, or 55 from Wild, I don't think any of those are going to have charge on them.
Yeah. Chat rooms, Matt at Arms is mentioning Sunkeeper Tarim. Saying too powerful. I mean, I don't know. I mean, depending on
card's really good.
It is really good, but again, like there's so much freedom now. Like they can really shape classes. They have so much control with like, again, as I mentioned at the top, like the bedrock of what each class has to pull from. So they could manipulate.
I want my Pally dudes back. That's what I want. Paladin things.
If I have to lose pure Paladin, that's what I want. I want like.
I want dudes back.
Pally, like, and it's been really interesting dude Pally cards like in the last year that are still going to be here for another year. And so like if they came back in with things like Muster, with things like Quartermaster.
Yeah.
Oh, so spicy. The spiciest little dudes.
Oh, there's so many chances it's spicy here.
And you're all like, from a Paladin perspective, from a Shaman perspective, we're looking at core sets, like cool cards that could come back. And here is a Rogue, I'm like, we can just keep the current classic set. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm like, no, rotate.
We'll just not change anything.
I don't know what they're gonna do with Rogue, but I really hope that they obviously they're gonna split stuff down all the classes fairly evenly. But man, I hope that there's a whole bunch of like new stuff or returning from Wild stuff that replaces Classic Basic for Rogue, because they're the ones I feel like that had the biggest kind of core that they never moved away from. With Edwin, obviously, we know Edwin's not coming back. So there's that. But, the shadow stepping and avissing and, that stuff has just been so Rogue since 2014 that it's just like, all right, I'm sick of that. Can we just do something like when they were talking about a Rogue class revamp? Like, I don't really think they have to revamp classes now the way they revamp Priest because of this new core set and the way that they're designing it. So I'm hoping that they kind of take the chance to smoosh those two ideas together, like the whole new core set alongside a Rogue class revamp that isn't really a revamp anymore. But like, I just hope they get that job done with the core set.
Yeah, I mean, we're still looking at, they've done a great job with Rogue feeling roguey, even with new mechanics, with stealth and secrets. Stealth and secrets feel very roguey. Now, Hanar is not a good example of a well-designed secret card. It's playing against Hanar for multiple turns. You're like, I'd rather just do anything else right now. But something like Greyheart Sage is pretty cool, or like Shadow Sensei. If we're going back a bit, they have a lot of options. And you can change out the combo cards. I expect something like Backstab will stick around just because I think that you need some kind of 0-mana activator. But I wouldn't be surprised to see cards like Elven Minstrel, I think would be a cool callback that still feels very roguey and it still has a combo mechanic, but isn't like combo make giant threat that kills you.
That's fair. I'd love to, as much as I hated it at the time, I would like a return to like a classical Miracle Rogue, but maybe devoid of Auctioneer. Like maybe they come up with some sort of draw mechanic that is specific to Rogue. And
we have that right now. It's called Secret Passage. It's 1 mana and you draw
Passage?
4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like you to work a little harder. You know.
No, I'm good. I like it now. Sometimes we have Cutting Class. That costs 0.
I want them to come for your Secret Passage is what I want them to do. Ridiculous hat.
Is that a pickup line?
It's
an old show title.
It's a really disturbing one, if it is. But yeah, there's just there's a lot of places I wanted to go. I would like them to kind of stick with Pirate Warrior. I would assume a lot of like Warrior old schools are just like bring back. I want Control to be returned to its god tier. I'm sure there is somebody out there that just wants to watch the world burn. That's just like, hey, can we have old Patron Warrior back? But like I would like to see Pirate Warrior kind of stick around. I would be fine not effing around with bombs for a while. Could I get like 2 years off bombs? That'd be nice.
That's not long enough.
I mean, I don't see where
we had Wrench Caliber. We had Wrench Caliber since Rise of Shadows. It's been a full 2 years of just like, well, I'm gonna take my turn. I hope I get to. No, wait, I died. This is fun. We can not have that experience. Yeah, I'd like to start my turn and then play my turn instead of being dead. Please.
That's generally how I play Hearthstone. I like to
usually
start my turn and not be dead.
Yeah,
it's a good goal.
That's kind of, yeah, I think so. I don't think I'm being too crazy here. So yeah, I like moving away from bombs. But I can answer your patron question right now, Garrett. No.
Oh, I know the answer is no. I'm trying to think of what corners of the community I'm not considering right now. And yeah, I think the harbingers of the end of days standing on street corners with hand-painted signs that are Patron Warrior fans are a subsection that I wasn't considering.
What about the mech mages of the world?
What year is it?
Yeah, Joss, if we want to get back to the most basic archetypes you and I have loved too much, yeah, sure, I guess let's bring back Mech Mage and let's bring back Mid-Range Pally, which frankly is kind of Dude Pally, like, because that was running quarter.
Mid-Range Pally is fine. Mech Mage was good in one meta for one set 5 years ago.
Mech Mage was good if you were Mech Mage was good if you were Jocelyn, which is actually like on brand with Joss because she's also good with Alexstrasza, even though you can't be good with Alexstrasza, you can just have good things happen to you. But Joss finds a way.
Yep.
Well, and you know what would be really good against Demon Hunter is Snowchugger. Snowchugger would be very good against Demon Hunter.
I would not mind hearing that emote more regularly again.
Chugga. I love a good Snowchugger.
Oh, I miss Snow.
So good.
This week in the Angry Chicken, the cast is so excited that they make train noises.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is so exciting. You know, I'm about ready. It
opens many doors we thought were shut, which is very cool.
And it makes
you know what they could bring back. You know what they could bring back, Garrett?
Oh,
they could bring back Yogg-Saron.
Get the shit off this show. You're done. You're done. It was nice. Man. I did consider you a friend, Hat, but
I'm just saying.
Listen, Joss already has to come to terms with the fact that Demon Hunter is staying. Do we?
Not anymore. We'll get to that. There's a format just for her.
Yeah, no, I will say I was a little bit disappointed that we will have initiate cards not rotating. Whatever. We thought that there was stuff
they were keeping 4 of them.
Yeah, they were keeping them. Yeah, and we thought they were rotating. And I'm sure that they're probably going to be the ones that see the most play because they don't want Demon Hunters to be terrible. And I get it. But I'm just like, man, he promised.
They didn't, though. I mean, this is the thing we're going back and forth. This was like a one-off line that I didn't have recorded in an interview, but when I was at the summit, they were like, hey, some of the cards, they're going to make the jump. We're just not sure which ones yet. So
yeah,
they only said 4 though. Like, as long as it's not Twin Slice, I'm fine. Like, if they did Battle Fiend, Umberwing, I-Beam, and Ultras, sure. Sure.
All of that, but oh wait, no, not Umberwing. What's the lifesteal weapon? I always forget the name of that.
Eldrazi Warblade's in basic. It's a basic card.
I want them to take that out back and shoot it.
Okay.
Like that's my feeling on Eldrazi Warblades. I
Yeah,
never
and
want
that's
to
a
see
basic
that
card.
again.
It's
It is a
separate.
basic card, so it may not be coming back because, again, we don't know what the 41 class cards from basic are going to be. So, I mean, you never know. But yeah, I'm looking forward to knowing what we're actually going to get in this core set. But yeah, I think there's one other thing that we should mention is because the core set is free, the core set is going to be usable in certain game modes, so standard, wild, and arena. But if you have a card unlocked in the core set, it doesn't give you ownership of that card in its original set. So if they bring back, say, Mysterious Challenger, that doesn't mean that you suddenly own that when the core set is replaced next year. So when different sets of cards come in, you won't own Mysterious Challenger if you go to play wild. As an example.
Blizzard lends you the core set for a year, and then they take it back and give you a new one. But you're borrowing it for a year. They're not your cards.
I would like Magic to do this with physical cards. I want a Magic representative to show up at my house every year. It's like, hey, here's your new core set, but I need to reclaim the new one. And then they sit there and they like audit all the cards that you're returning to them. They're like, wait. Hey, I'm missing one mountain. I need that back.
I do not want strange people to come to my house and look through my stuff. I'll pay for my cards.
Anyways, yeah, we have more to talk about.
We have so much to talk about.
But
So that's why I'm like,
before we do, let's take a break and thank today's sponsor.
I got the best deals anywhere.
Hey everyone, just taking a quick minute to thank this episode's sponsor, Gabby. They are back sponsoring this episode of The Angry Chicken. You can start saving on your car and your homeowner's insurance by going to Gabby.com/TAC. We're all looking for ways to save money, right? I mean, let me ask you this. How would you like to keep an extra $961 a year in your pocket? Well, that's how much Gabby customers save per year on average on car and homeowners insurance. That's why when I was shopping for insurance, I used Gabby. This is the time of year we go shopping for insurance, and Gabby takes the pain out of that shopping process by giving you apples to apples comparison of your current coverage with 40 of the top insurance providers. And that's what I did. You know, I had been with Geico since I got my Focus back in 2018. And I went to Gabby.com/TAC. All I had to do was log into my Geico account through Gabby, and bam. Gabby showed me offers from National General, Progressive, and many others. As it turned out, Safeco will save me $218 on the exact same coverage that I currently have. So go check them out because, hey, maybe you can have a little money in your pocket, a little extra money for Hearthstone cards or any other gaming-related hobbies. So go check them out because you're probably overpaying on car and homeowners insurance. See how much Gabby can save you. It's totally free to check and there's no obligation. Go to Gabby.com/TAC. That is spelt GABI.com/TAC. Once again, it's Gabby.com/TAC. We thank them for their support. Now let's get back to the show. Let's keep talking about how things are changing with the core set and also talk about the legacy set. Starting off with Hall of Fame is no more, which we already knew from teasing cryptic tweets from various members of Team 5. But here it is in all its blog post glory, almost carved in stone, but you can update these things. But you can't update the way back machine. You can't do that. But yeah, the basic and classic sets will move to Wild under a new name, the Legacy set. Most of the existing cards from Hall of Fame will be rolled into this set, except for Gen and Baku. They will be put back into Witchwood, and Shadowform, as previously mentioned, is returning as a part of the core set. Cards from Witchwood moving from Hall of Fame back to their expansion will be available in packs again, which I didn't even it's been so long since I've thought about this that like you couldn't even find those cards in those packs, but it, it makes all the sense in the world. It would have been very strange if you still could, but couldn't use them.
That's why they took them out. But it's not just Genenbaku, Garrett. You forgot about Gloomstag and Black Cat and Glitter Moth.
How could I?
They were the odd and even only, so the ones that supported Genenbaku. So yeah, the cards from Witchwood that got shoved to the side because Genenbaku were stupid.
You can finally open that golden Merkspark eel that you've been waiting for.
Yeah. So with the classic set joining the legacy set in Wild, all classic cards and their golden versions will now be craftable and disenchantable. Basic cards and their golden versions will be granted to all players that have Wild unlocked for free at rotation, as will the normal versions of, why can't I say versions? Of Demon Hunter Initiate cards. Golden Demon Hunter Initiate cards will still be craftable and disenchantable, in case you were worried. And then classic packs now are now added to the legacy set.
So when you open a classic pack and get a card out of a classic pack, that goes towards your legacy set in Wild. It has nothing to do with your core set, which is playable in Standard, because again, you've already got that for free. So
yes, and it's tied to leveling up your heroes.
Exactly. So classic packs now are going to be not usable in Standard. You can think of like classic and basic as if classic basic was any other expansion that has its own card packs and is rotating. Like that's kind of how you have to wrap your head around it, I think. And they also said that anywhere that we normally get classic packs, so in achievements or tavern brawls, those are going to be replaced with more recent rewards. So kind of think along the lines of a card pack from the most recent expansion instead of the classic card, because that's no longer building your collection, the base of your collection. We've got a new base and that's free. So
yeah, definitely playing more tavern brawls now. Like it's the packs are going to be really relevant each week.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point.
If you have classic packs now, if you are not missing the old cards that are in the Hall of Fame, if you're not missing Rag or Sylvanas or whatever, and you are missing the new legendaries, Whitemane, Natalie, Celine, so on and so forth, you should open them now. If you are missing the old cards, you should hold them, because the classic packs are still classic. The difference is that the cards that went away from Classic, Azure Drake, Ragnaros, Sylvanas, are getting added back into Classic and should be in those packs. So there's no point, like, we won't call them legacy packs because you can't open basic cards in packs. It's just Classic plus cards that were in the Hall of Fame that are going back to Classic. So it's going to be the original set plus all the new hole filler cards they made. It's going to be just like an expanded Classic set. So if you need the old stuff, save your packs. If you don't, and you want the newer legendaries, open them now.
Again, are we seeing why this was not covered at BlizzCon?
I found you very engaging, Hat.
No, it wasn't a dig at it. It wasn't a dig at Hat. It was a dig at how technical a lot of this is getting. Including the fact that classic versions of cards are tied to your ownership of them in the legacy set and can't be disenchanted in one format while being retained in the other.
Yeah, so this is about the format that we haven't talked about yet that was announced as part of this announcement, which is Classic Hearthstone. So even though Classic Hearthstone makes use of basic and classic cards, you can't like disenchant the classic version of, say, Leroy and then still have him available to you in Wild in his updated format. So it's like it's one pool of cards between the two.
Right.
It's somewhat complex. Basically, if you want to play a card in a format that's not standard, keep the card. And if the card is in the core set and you want to play with it, if it leaves the core set, keep the card. Don't try and exploit the system by dusting stuff, because we don't know what's going to happen with brand new cards in the core set. If they rotate out, they'll probably just get granted to our collection, but we don't know yet. But if a card is collectible and leaves the core set and you dusted the original copy, you will have to make it again to play with it again. If you want to play with the card, keep the card.
Yes.
That's the long and short of it.
That's a good rule.
Because we hear a lot from people. The amount of times we either get a tweet, a Discord message, or an email that says, "Hey, I only play I only play standard. Is there anything stopping me from just disenchanting everything that isn't standard?" We hear from you a lot. Yeah, just keep going as you're going. Keep disenchanting whatever you want as long as it's not part of standard. Nothing really changes for you. So that's if you're one of those players, that's where you should continue the grinder, the paper shredder of your digital cards. So yeah, and then they also specify that Zephrys the Great is rotating the Wild with Saviors of Uldum and will still pull from the same basic and classic cards that are now a part of the Legacy set. We kind of already knew this after talking to Celestalon. After multiple people.
Important detail. This gets so weird right here. This gets weird because the Hall of Fame cards that are going back into Classic are not in Zephrys. Because they're not changing Zephrys from the pool that he has today. The pool that he has right now, basically, they're going to stop working on Zephrys. That is what they're saying. They're not going to work on it anymore. But the classic set is going to change, and Zephrys is not going to change. So if you play him on 8 and you're looking for Sylvanas, he will never find Sylvanas.
They are not going to George Lucas Zephrys, all right? Then like 10 years from now, they're going to be like, oh, wait, I think I can make it a little bit better. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to add a couple more details into this thing that you'll never notice. It's just.
Do you think the devs sound like that?
No, that's my George Lucas impression.
Okay, that's acceptable.
They're not going back. We're not getting Zephrys Special Edition. We're not getting Zephrys re-released. Zephrys is as Zephrys currently stands. Whizbang is going to remain in Wild as part of the Boomsday set and will be updated for every major release going forward. So I still think that's
really cool.
Yeah, Whizbang is such a special card and has. Whizbang just kind of exudes goodwill. I feel like in Hearthstone, like we still hear about Whizbang. I still see people mentioning Whizbang, and being passionate about the card. So I'm happy to see
it's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
It's like super unique.
Should it
There's
be in standard?
Nothing else like it.
Should it be a standard card?
I would like it to be personally. I think it'd be a unique way to offer even more kind of just ready, set, play decks. Beyond, hey, are you a returning player that's been gone for a predetermined amount of time? Here's a free deck.
Honestly, I think, I know they said specifically Whizbang will remain in Wild, but I think Whizbang remaining in Wild doesn't necessarily mean it's not going to be part of the core set, because the core set is playable in Wild. So I feel like this might be a cheeky way of telling us, but not telling us that Whizbang is going to be core, because if they're going to update him in every set going forward, it does seem like a waste to not allow him to then be playable in standard Hearthstone, right? So
you think maybe they're doing that thing where they're like, all right, let's just focus on Wild right now. Let's see how it feels to and how many resources we have to dedicate to keep this card going in Wild. And does it feel good? Do we feel like we hit our stride? Do we feel like we have a good understanding of how we can keep this one card and the amount of complication it brings with it updated, and then maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, they're like, we're going to try and Whizbang back into the core set. To me,
to program the deck recipes anyway, though, right? He just points to the deck recipes and they have to update those regardless. So I don't think that he's a lot of technical work. I just feel like that if he was coming back to standard, they would have brought out the trumpets for him, because people have been asking for this for so long. I don't think they would hold that back. They would probably want that goodwill right up front, right?
That's fair.
Yeah, and they did talk about Shadow Form, which is interesting that Shadow Form's the only one we've been told for sure, right? And so
it's the only card from the Hall of Fame that's gonna come back to standard.
All the other
Hall of Fame cards are going to
back.
Wild.
The Hall of Fame isn't even coming back. The Hall of Fame is over.
Yes.
No. But I mean, in terms of cards in the core set, Shadow Form is the only one that we have confirmed out of that 235. That's the only one we know. So it's interesting that they would tell us about Shadow Form, but not Whizbang. I completely agree there. I don't see why he can't be in standard. I mean, you can always do the same thing as when he was in standard before, where you just say, okay, yeah, Whizbang asterisk unplayable in Hearthstone esports. That was already the case. So I think if you have the caveat of he's not playable in Hearthstone esports, then cool. And if you can climb all the way to a relevant level of legend with Whizbang, Good on ya. And like, you deserve that spot in Hearthstone esports. Like,
Hashtag free Whizbang. Let people dominate with Whizbang. If they can do that.
if you can do it, like,
Whip your Whiz out.
G. Yeah.
Is that a pickup line?
No, Hats.
No.
No, I'm becoming concerned about your pickup lines.
I'm becoming concerned about whipping your Whiz out. There are a lot of concerns. Of the two of us, I think I have the more legitimate concern here.
God.
I'm not saying, I'm not leading with any of this as this is a pickup line. The fact that your brain goes,
Oh.
should anyone
Okay,
be leading with that?
I'm not prepared for whip your Whiz out. I don't have a preset to process that. That's new information for me. So I'm going as I can. That's not in my secret passage.
So anyway, I did message Chris today, the Hearthstone CM, because I was a little bit confused about how the core set and the legacy set interact together in Wild, because they are two separate sets of cards and both are legal. So I was confused about deck limits, basically. So the confirmation came from Chris, who says that deck limits still apply, and any basic and classic cards that make their way into the core set can still only have one or two copies based on rarity, obviously, because you can only ever have one copy of a legendary. So no double dipping between those two sets. You can't have 4 fireballs. You can, however, choose between fireballs in the core set or the fireball from the legacy set, because they will have different watermarks. So if you're the kind of person that really cares what watermark is on your fireball, then go for it. I do not know if Fireball is coming back. I am just assuming that Fireball will still be a mage card in Standard, but maybe it's not. But Fireball is the way I wrap my head around it. So
Can't have 4 fireballs.
yes, you cannot have 4 fireballs. You can still only have 2 fireballs, but you can choose your watermark.
Oh, thank God. It was the only spell that that led to my only loss on Big Priest today. Oh, there it is. So
there
sad.
you go.
All right. Well, let's whip our classic set out because we haven't, or sorry, the classic format. We haven't talked about the classic
yes.
format. We've made mention to it, but that's the next thing. So your core set that's going to be playable in Wild, it's going to be playable in Arena. It's going to be playable in Standard. There, however, is now a new format on the horizon called Classic, and it will use the original 240 Hearthstone cards as they existed in 2014. Sadly, not 2013. I want beta coin scrub back. That's what I want.
This is our town, scrub.
Yes, I want classic mode to just be rogue or die.
Well, I got some good news for you about classic mode, if that's what you're looking for, because Gadgetzan is 5 mana and Conceal is in the set. So we may be able to do both rogue and die for people playing against the rogue.
So yeah, this we should mention right off the top, because my first gut reaction to this was, oh, okay, so Classic Hearthstone. Classic is our new game mode. Celeste alone confirmed on Twitter, this is not our new game mode. This is another way to play constructed Hearthstone that will have its own rewards, rank system, ladder, everything the same way Standard and Wild do. But this is not the new game mode, you guys. This isn't it.
Time.
Like,
What is? How did they? Do they sleep? Do they sleep anymore? I don't know.
Like, yeah, this isn't it. There's still something else, which I'm assuming we're going to hear about at BlizzConline. So, like, this is not it. And that just blew my mind. Like, what? It's a whole nother ladder to play on, a whole nother rank system, a whole nother place you can get legend, but it doesn't count. Like, what? Insane.
I'm just afraid this means Asmongold's going to get into Hearthstone now.
Why do you have to put it in the universe?
Really super identify with WoW Classic players. I didn't really get it before, but now a game that I have played since the very beginning has introduced Classic mode, and I'm like, oh, I get it now, WoW players. I get it. Because I get to go to a place where Demon Hunter doesn't exist.
Are you saying Are you saying you get down with the Classic?
Oh yeah, I am going to be playing Classic Hearthstone so hard. Not to mention, I feel like now I actually know how to play Hearthstone that I'll be able to execute in Classic Hearthstone, and that's going to make me very happy.
I just can't wait. The first time that you get to open with turn 1 Leper Gnome and to turn 2 Abusive Sergeant, your squeals of joy will be audible down here.
It's going to be so good because these are all going to be the cards as they existed in patch 1.0. A whole bunch of other numbers, whatever, from June 2014. So we are going back to like reverting all the nerfs. It's literally copy paste from what June 2014 Hearthstone was. Yes, please. Thank you. I didn't even know I needed this, but I needed it so hard.
And this is the patch where Unleash went to 3 mana, but Leroy still 4. Buzzard still 2.
Buzzard still, yeah.
Yep.
You can
Soulfire is 0 mana. Soulfire doesn't cost any mana. Flare is 1 mana. Eaglehorn Bow triggers on both player secrets. It's
Would
a
you
very
like as
different
many
world.
charges of durability on your weapon as warriors can get armor? Well, do I have the hunter deck for you?
Yeah, I don't think the game's going to go that long. I don't get the vibe that game's going to get that long. And for people that didn't participate in Classic when it was out, there's a lot more charge than you think there is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of charge. Arcane Golem was the stuff of nightmares. Just every class got a 3 mana Leroy.
Force of Nature Savage Roar.
Yep.
It's gonna happen again.
Yes.
It's gonna happen again.
Oh God, I'm so excited.
No, we go for the nuts curve. Coin, innervate, cairn, go.
Yeah, because the nerfs since that patch will be reverted. Unlocking the wild format will also grant access to the classic format. Classic's reward systems, rank systems, and seasons will function the same as standard and wild, so it's going to have its own ladder. If you're already familiar with how wild works in regards to also your standard ladder, that's it. You're just going to have a third ladder now that you can work on. It's going to have its own matchmaking pool, which seems like a given to me.
Yeah.
Like an
I
absolute
think it
given,
kind of
but
goes along with the same with its own
I guess
rank
there's
system,
a
right? Like
no, because nerfs are getting reverted. I was going to say I guess there's a chance,
so you couldn't play with anybody else, right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah. So, all the things that you think would make sense are going to be it. Also, we're getting more deck slots, 27 deck slots, thanks to the new format. Hat, you look extremely excited about this.
Usually, during release week, I fill my current 18 slots about 3 or 4 times. So we're adding efficiency to that process. Just another page. That's all I want. Just another page.
I'm gonna just rapid fire through the rest of these bullet points. Classic packs will now add to your collection for the classic format as well as the legacy set in Wild. All balance changes for these cards over the years will be reverted, but cosmetic changes will remain. For example, Fellstalker will still be Fellstalker, and sadly not the thirsty succubus. They said they're looking forward to player feedback. Nothing to announce as of right now.
Free the boobies.
Free the boobies. Free them. Am I missing anything, Joss? Was there any bullet point here that is particularly important to maybe you and your deep held belief systems in the religion that is Hearthstone?
Currently, guys, you can't see it, but Hat is making Demon Hunter is not in classic format about size 200 red underline bold and italics in our show notes right now.
It's size 43, and let's just keep it there for anyone who checks out the show notes afterwards. Let's not change this back.
Just in case.
Yeah.
Want to make sure nobody scrolls past that.
Yeah, like I will say, so I know I have been down on Demon Hunter and they were powerful throughout this standard year. Obviously, way more powerful in Ashes of Outland than at any other point in the year. They're not my jam, but I understand there's other people that enjoy it. And now I am glad that I have a place that I can go where I don't have to play with or against them. And that makes me happy. And it's not going to be the only place I play. I am obviously a standard Hearthstone player and have been for the entirety of Hearthstone. So I'm still going to be playing that as my main game mode with some battlegrounds thrown in there. But I'm going to have a place that I can still play constructed Hearthstone that I can go to if I get frustrated with Demon Hunter. And that has been my biggest point of frustration for the past year in Hearthstone. And I know it hasn't been for everybody, but that's been my experience. And I had been going over to Battlegrounds, but now I can keep playing Constructed, which really is my first Hearthstone love. So I'm really excited about this. So
yeah, I don't foresee myself playing a ton of it, but I do foresee myself like regularly every once in a while just being like,
just popping in.
I want to play Zoo. I want to play OG Zoo. I want to play OG Rogue. I want to play OG Hunter. Like it's weird, man. Like I saw Rayned tweet out like jokingly like, oh, I might come back for Boomer Hearthstone, but like he's not wrong. Like I'm like, I still love going to like car meets and seeing old 60s Mustangs. Like I know it's a joke. It's like, yeah, all the old men with their New Balance sneakers sitting with their camping chair next to their Corvette. But I love seeing those Corvettes. They're gorgeous, even if I'll never own one because the price is inflated too much. Like, this is that for Hearthstone. I get to go relive that. I get to go take out my... I would say the analogy now falls off with inefficient cars of the classic era because these decks are going to be hyper efficient.
Kinda. They didn't make cards the same way back then. Like Classic was a bunch of inefficient cards and a bunch of costing mistakes, and it was really cool, but we didn't know then what we know now. How many years were Druid decks built with one Force, one Roar because we didn't think we needed the second copy? We should have played the second copy. How many years Rogue for the longest time played double Earth and Ring Farseer because you needed it, I guess. We didn't need it. So... Yeah. I'm really curious to see what Classic looks like with modern data. But yeah, Garrett, I'm not too far off where you are. I think this is a permanently unlocked, super good Tavern Brawl. That when I need it, it's going to be there. I don't think this is the format that will maintain longevity. With that being said, I've asked myself internally, and I want to ask you too, how long do you think it'll be before the first person asks for nerfs in Classic? Because I can't wait.
They've already happened. Go on Reddit.
We've already seen. Yeah.
I've already seen...
talk about classic balance, and it's like that's not the point.
Well, yeah, and I'm not trying to come down on them, but I've seen like every variation on, oh, this is great, but what about insert one specific card that you particularly have an axe to grind against? Like I've seen it multiple times for Leroy already. People going, okay, this is great, this is awesome, I'm glad you're reverting nerfs, but what about Leroy? Are we sure about that? It's like, no, that's not. This is the whole point.
That's
the whole point of this is to be a snapshot of Hearthstone history and to just throw it out in the universe and let it exist in like forever. And you know, while we're here, might as well pull a question out of our Discord. So folks, if you're a patron, you can drop us questions in the Discord or write in tacpodcast@gmail.com. But we got a question along these lines in that Discord since we're about to have that conversation. So Andrew B wrote in and said, greetings Angrino Chickeritos. With the new classic mode and ladder coming out, where everything is being changed to original Hearthstone, how do you think Blizzard will balance it? With such a small card pool, do you think it will be solved very quickly? Are they likely to nerf things in different ways to how they had been, or maybe rotate a set or two in? Curious to know your thoughts. And yeah, Andrew, well, I think we've kind of given up our goose here. The answer to will they balance is no. Like, I think the whole point of this is to just let it be a museum piece to the history of Hearthstone.
Yeah, and actually, I'm really, really curious. We're going to talk about the BlizzCon schedule in a little bit, but I'm actually really curious to see how Blizzard as a whole answers the classic question, because we have a pretty good idea that we're probably going to get Burning Crusade on the Warcraft side in terms of like some sort of either addition to Classic. And I want to know if they're going to like keep the Classic servers for Warcraft and make like a Classic Burning Crusade be a whole other thing, or like however they answer that question in World of Warcraft, I think is going to be a really good indicator of maybe the way they might take Classic Hearthstone. So obviously we're behind the curve on Classic. You know, the Classic in Warcraft has been out for a few years, but I think we can kind of take the trajectory of Classic Warcraft and however they go about it and get an idea of maybe where they might be thinking with Classic Hearthstone, because Ixar said in an AMA a couple weeks ago that they're not worried about fragmenting their player base, that they have enough players that nobody has long queue times. They're going to bring in new modes and new formats whenever they feel that it's a good idea. And so, like, I think that adding in like a Nax meta and a GVG meta and a TGT meta, like those are all possibilities. And I don't know, I think like depending on how the Warcraft team answers this question, I think it's going to give us some insight into how the Hearthstone team might, but I think that is on the table for the future. But right now, Classic is 2014 Hearthstone. Come play it, love it.
Yeah, so you know, going one further than what Andrew wrote in about, because Andrew didn't tee any of this up, but it's in the ballpark of other conversation rumblings I've seen around it, which is people just being like, well, we're gonna get bored with this over time, or it's not gonna be supported, and it's just like, well, Wild isn't really supported. They do make balance changes every once in a while.
When something's really super broken.
Yeah, like they still get in there and mess with it. But again, like that's the point of Classic. It's supposed to be this historical snapshot. But beyond that, like Wild's really left to its own devices. Like they don't do Wild events. It's not part of esports. And I 100% do not expect Classic to be any different. I think it's very much, it's just going to be it's going to be a niche part of Hearthstone, but I think that's okay. And I'm not trying to be dismissive. I think it's easy to read it that way or to paint it with that brush. But to me, like, this is just a cool thing that I'm glad is there. And even if I think I'm probably being optimistic when I think that I maybe will interface with it 4 times a year. But I'm really going to enjoy those 4 times. Like,
yeah, you're going to be super stoked that it's there when you want to play it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
the thing that stands out is it has its own ranked ladder. And that's the part that I didn't expect. It feels like a mode where you click play and you go and whatever, but giving it a ladder gives it kind of a different vibe, because I am worried a little bit about queue times and the longevity of this format in general. I doubt there will be people that are grinding Classic Legend every month. Like there'll be a small core. I don't expect that to be widespread behavior. And so, but they can tweak the MMR formula in that format. And you think about the technical complexity of how hard was it really to add this? I think not very much. I think not a lot of technical complexity. You take the ladder system you already have, you make a copy. You hard code 240 cards, most of which are still in your game, and that's it. I don't think that's a big technical ask. And duplicating other cards from past sets, like Nax is 35 cards? It wouldn't be hard for them to do that either. They could easily do like a time walking format where every month it's a different set of cards. They could move forward that way. They could keep Classic open and have a time walking thing that changes. They could add a bunch. So I think if you splinter into a bunch of different metas, like a bunch of different classics, that kind of gets untenable. And so like, would there be demand for Classic and then Classic plus GVG or Classic plus Nax? Like, would there be a specific way they'd want to do that? And I doubt they know. But also this is why that's where the Warcraft piece comes in for me, is that because you're talking about splintering that same sort of an audience, right? In this, exactly. Like, hey, this is how Warcraft was back when it launched. Like, that was a long freaking time ago, you guys. And there's still some people who only want to play classic World of Warcraft. So like 17 years ago.
Yeah. How do they deal with that audience?
They're still searching for Mancrick's wife. They don't know where she is. And the other question I have, this came up a lot during Ixar's AMA about Wild, is the way the team looks at Wild is Standard is the format where they change cards because of balance issues, and Wild is the format where they don't do that. That's kind of how they look at it. Whereas Wild players are like, well, you pay attention to Standard, you don't pay attention to us. Whereas Ixar is making it clear it was a design decision. Are they making Classic format to justify more changes to Wild? Are they making a place where they don't mess with cards, like as a rule, to make it so that Wild can have a little bit more frequency of adjustment so that people have Classic as an outlet if they want it? I don't know. I'm curious.
I think seeing how this all plays out over the next little while is going to be really, really interesting. And I'm looking forward to it. And I think, like, you know, in terms of queue times and player base and all the rest of it, I think it's actually really smart to tie some ranks and rewards and things into Classic, because if you aren't as good at one of the other formats, or if you get tired of it or whatever, you have the option of leveling for a month through the Classic reward system and not penalizing your account in any way. Like if I go, oh man, it's the last month of this new expansion and I really don't like the meta, it's getting really stale, I wish they make some changes. Oh man, okay, well, at least now that I have 2 more options of how to actually go up through the reward system for the month, in Wild, or if I really don't like something that they've done in the expansion that would still happen in Wild, because obviously Wild shares those expansion crossovers with Standard. Now I have a place to go where it's just like everyone knows my name. It's the Cheers of Hearthstone. Like,
finally, a reference Jocelyn made that I don't understand.
Wait, what?
I've never seen.
You don't know Cheers?
I've
You
never
don't
seen
know
Cheers.
Cheers?
I'm 34, not 47.
Anyways,
I'm not going to try and do a Cliff Clavin accent, but I'm thinking it.
Just by the way.
Garrett low-key casting shade on everybody today.
It's okay, Jocelyn. We'll always have Limp Bizkit.
You're right.
That's unfortunate.
So my point is, you have yet another way now to level through a ranking and reward system for a month, which I think the more ways they give people to do that, the better.
I'm really excited. The day Classic comes out, I'm going to queue up. I'm going to play a ton of it. And the first time that I lose to an ice block, I'm going to close the client. It just as Broad intended.
Oh, Broad.
Yep, indeed. As was set forth by the forefather Benjamin Broad. Yeah, so that's we finally made it through. An hour and 10 minutes later, we got through. Yep. This is a lot, and there's still a ton to know. We don't know what the core set is going to be. We're going to figure that out. I can't wait to just sit here with you guys and just be like, great inclusion, terrible inclusion. What were you thinking? I have a personal vendetta with that card, so clearly it was a bad idea to bring it back, and everything in between those two polarities. So, yeah, like God, overall, I'm just really stoked. So, like, I'm already going into BlizzConline pretty happy in regards to Hearthstone, which is good because I couldn't be more heartbroken in regards to Heroes of the Storm. Yeah, so we're starting off on the right foot. We still have another mode to reveal, which really is really getting my hopes up now at this point for a limited format that, in my opinion, is good. Casting a little shade there at Arena. Because if we're having all this deep, meaty conversation about all of the different ways your collection is now being divvied into collections and formats and so on and so forth, that really makes me feel like our collection is not going to play a single role in whatever this new game mode is going to be. Also, the last one does involve our collection with duels. So, dare I dream, y'all, that Hearthstone adds a limited format that I actually play?
I mean, we'll have to see. I just hope it's something that's more. I almost said better, and I don't mean better. I apologize to anybody who enjoys duels, but I want it to be more along the lines of new, different, and fun, like Battlegrounds was, instead of a spin on something we already had, which is kind of what duels was, a spin on dungeon runs, right? So I kind of want it to be one of those way out there, we had no idea it was coming sort of ideas. And I don't know if Limited really fits that, because I feel like Limited would more be like an improvement / spin on Arena. Whereas like I want them to do something super ridiculous, crazy, like an auto battler with cards that I didn't see coming, right? Like I want it to be that far out in left field sort of idea.
Well, fair. I just always wanted a different limited format.
I know.
Really bad. Really bad.
I'm kind of expecting a Battlegrounds variant. We haven't seen, like, they've added stuff to BGs, but it's been out
Battlegrounds Classic. Get rid of elementals, get rid of dragons, get rid of pirates, go back to Battlegrounds Classic.
Yes, so we can have BlizzCon Jocelyn Carney edition. That's only things that you want. The theme is unicorns.
I'm saying that I wanted it. Yeah, Year of the Unicorn. Yeah.
Yes.
Soundtrack by Limp Bizkit while replays of Cheers plays in the top left-hand corner.
This is a very strange convention.
Is it, or is it a really accurate representation of exactly what BlizzCon is like?
In a way, at BlizzCon, everyone does know your name. Yes. But like we talked about BG's brawls, they could do like a different group of tribes or a different group of like they could easily change the pool. They could easily change the rules, like some kind of BG's weekly brawl thing. I don't think that'd be a full mode, but I don't know. Connor Crew's really, really smart, and I'm sure there are things that he wants to do with BGs that hasn't been done yet. And we have had the mode since late 2019.
Yeah.
Almost like a year and a quarter right now. It's not really getting old. It's still like awesome. And the Darkmoon prizes have been interesting. But I wonder if there's a way to like vary some more core part of the format.
But like if we're getting classic Hearthstone and they're saying, no, this isn't a mode, then some variant on like Tavern Brawl, some variant on Battlegrounds, probably in my way of thinking wouldn't be a new mode either. Like what do they think counts as a new mode? It's kind of just, I don't know.
Luckily, we don't need to wait too much longer. Luckily, we don't need to wait too much longer. We finally have some semblance of an idea of what the hell BlizzConline is going to even look like because they dropped the schedule today.
Yes. It's very vague, though.
It is vague. It's very light. Like, if this was a BlizzCon, I'd be like, oh, boy, yeah, they're going to hire Chris Metzen to start with Geek Is, because clearly they don't have a lot to talk about.
But they would have, like...
Sorry, Hat, go ahead.
They'd have, like, cosplay contests and other, like, an art show out. Like, they
do have that. And that's part of what, like, to me, feels like filler.
I wonder if they just... I don't know, because it doesn't really seem... They've got no StarCraft stuff. They've got... I'm
sorry. They have like 3 hours of StarCraft stuff on day one, which is all the more salt in a hero's wound. Because they straight up have told us, hey, StarCraft is dead, but here's some StarCraft stuff. And they've been like, no, we're still making hero stuff. What about BlizzCon? Nope. Sorry, you want it? No, there's just nothing. Sorry. You get to complain to JLM Brack on Twitter where you won't listen or read or care. That's your hero's
But it's not like okay, so I guess I was more thinking along the lines of like announcements and what's next panels, because when we look at announcements and what's next panels, we've got Hearthstone, Warcraft, Diablo. Like they kept it pretty tight. So
yeah, but like, even
technically they have behind the scenes of Overwatch 2, but it's like they're so far out on that project. They only told us about it because it leaked. Like they were not ready. So yeah, I just like this year feels like pared down BlizzCon, and I'm not really sure what they would have done if we'd gone through with the regular BlizzCon in November. But like this feels kind of like, we want to give you something. Here's what we're currently working on. We know Hearthstone has a lot of stuff, and this timing of BlizzCon works really well for the Hearthstone team. Probably the best out of any of the teams, because we have our standard rotation coming so soon. Like this is prime Hearthstone news time. So this has worked out really well for the Hearthstone team, I think. But the other Blizzard teams are kind of like, who does stuff in February? Like,
yeah, well, which I guess, like, to their credit, like, you know, yeah, I'm here saying there's a lot of filler. It's a bit of a light BlizzCon, but like to their credit, I think it's because they just released things when they were ready back in the fall. Like, yeah,
exactly. Like, you know, we had Shadowlands that released in the fall. Like there was stuff from Hearthstone released in the fall. Like you could tell November was really busy for Blizzard. And now it's like, it's a little bit quieter outside of Hearthstone.
Yeah. I just find it odd that we have like one major Hearthstone panel on day one, and then the rest of the day is a Battlegrounds exhibition, which I'm sure will be entertaining, but it seems strange that they couldn't just have like an exhibition channel where they had things like the StarCraft event, which is kind of what the strategy channel is. But I'm surprised that's not where the Battlegrounds exhibition ended up, and that they didn't have more Hearthstone stuff. Because then on day two, like the majority of it is the Streamer Showdown, which again, I'm sure will be fun and entertaining, but it's not like juicy details and whatnot. So it's like day one, there's the opening ceremonies where obviously they're going to announce, you know, the main brunt of everything. Here's what we've got for Diablo. Here's what we've got for Warcraft. Here's what we got for Hearthstone. And so on and so forth and everything and all that. But then we got a less than 1 hour panel day one and a Q&A that's half an hour on day two. And that's it for Hearthstone panels. Everything else is like community stuff, where Hearthstone is concerned, which I do find odd, even though at the same time, it's like Hearthstone has never really marched to the BlizzCon drum. It marches at the Hearthstone drum. Like even at traditional BlizzCon, Battlegrounds aside, it's usually, well, this is when we have our third expansion of the year. So we're going to show you our third expansion of the year, and that's it.
Yeah.
So this is actually going to be a bigger Hearthstone showing, again, Battlegrounds aside, than is historically at BlizzCon. Which is why I'm just like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, I'm surprised there's not more time dedicated to Hearthstone panels, because it seems like they're going to have a lot of stuff to explain.
All the reveals and all the Q&As for the games are overlapping. And typically at BlizzCon, they're back-to-back on the Mythic stage. I think they're expecting dramatically different user patterns of people watching the main property they identify with. Because if you're at BlizzCon, if you casually play WoW and you're a Hearthstone player, that's what I did. I went to the WoW panel on the main stage because I was there already and it was really cool to feel the excitement and all that. I'm not going to watch it this year because I'm not playing WoW right now, and my passing familiarity with the game in the past is not enough for me to engage with that content when I'm sitting at home and have all the internet content in the world, plus actually playing the game available to me. So it's clearly they're anticipating different user experience, I guess.
Well, they also don't have any esports, right? And the esports normally would take place on the Hearthstone stage, and then the big announcements would be on the main stage. So, like, there's none of that. I don't want to call it filler, but like, you know, normally we would have, like, you would go, like you said, Hat, to the main stage. They'd have one after another of all of their big games, would have their what's next panels. And then the other stages, like all the other presentations, were very much like, here's our world championship, like arena, like MDI stuff, StarCraft stuff, and Hearthstone.
They were social events.
You know? Yeah.
And in a year where you can't have social events, trying to recreate them online sucks. So they just cut them. And it's probably a smart decision, and it's going to feel sad because we miss actual BlizzCon and they miss actual BlizzCon. And looking at the schedule for 2019, artists, like deep dives into artists, voice actor panels, engineering panels. There's a lot of things going on where, because the news was sequential, the other stages, if you liked a primary property and didn't have interest in the announcements of the other games, you went and you watched a bunch of artists or voice actors or the World Championship or whatever. And now it's just, you're going to watch the game that you like because that's what you do when you're watching streaming at home. And then you're going to do whatever you want on your own time because you're not at BlizzCon. So I guess it's got to be different. But yeah, it looks different. It feels different. It's weird. I don't like it. But this is, I don't know. But what could they have done? What could they have done? Because I want to go there. I want to be sitting in the crowd with my friends, and I want to go like off-site to get some lunch so I don't have to stand in the line for an hour to get a mediocre burrito. It's a pretty good burrito. And then I want to roll into the Marriott Lounge because I don't want to be in the Hilton because I like hearing my friends. And then I want to hang out.
There's a Baja Fresh in the Hilton, and it will not make you feel like you want to die after eating it. And that's my hot in-person BlizzCon tip.
I kind of wish that they had kept that main stage feel, in that I wish that they had one stream that was all of the announcements one after another, because I know, like, I looked at that schedule, and I mean, I don't care about Diablo necessarily, but I care about Warcraft and I care about Hearthstone. And I looked at it and I'm like, oh man, like, I'm going to have to choose between which one I want to watch because they're airing at the same time. Why can't we just have, you know, like, what's next, and then have on my Hearthstone channel have the BG thing, and have on the StarCraft channel the StarCraft thing, and, you know, like on the Diablo channel, I don't know, there's got to be a Diablo thing you can do that people want to watch, right?
They did say all of this was going to be available on demand after the fact. So
I know, but there's still, and I know you don't get necessarily the in-person experience of like cheering alongside a crowd, but like my crowd is Twitter and Discord, right? So I'm going to be watching like Hearthstone and then unable to react live with my Warcraft guild, or vice versa. I'm not going to be able to react live with the Angry Chicken Discord because I'm going to be watching the Warcraft panel. Like, I hate that I have to choose between the deep dive what's nexting type stuff instead of being able to chill and have like watch parties with, you know, my friends online, because we're obviously all going to be missing each other a lot during this event. So I think they maybe could have done some things that would have made it a little bit more conducive to hanging out with your friends digitally, but this is what they did, so I guess I'm gonna have to make a choice.
Hey, listen, Joss. Let me. I'm gonna paint this just slightly differently for you, and I'm gonna say that you're gonna have a very, very realistic BlizzCon experience. You already had to make that choice. You're gonna have to make that choice again about what you want to see, and you're gonna be jumping between your communities to see what you're missing on the other one. And it's not going to be all that different from you being on your phone getting excited texts from me at whatever the other stage was that you didn't choose to go to.
I guess that's fair.
Or seeing Patrick Beja sleepily exclaiming things on Twitter because he's jet lagged, or so on and so forth. Like there's like honestly, other than the fact that this, like day one runs from 5 p.m. to 8:30, where I'm just like, boy, that seems light. This to me, I look at it and go, yeah, they've really recreated the BlizzCon experience. I'm going to have to kill my darlings to decide what I'm going to watch and when.
How many monitors do you have?
Not enough. Listen, the monitor is not the limiting factor.
It's the ears and the brain.
Yeah, the ear-brain thing is the problem.
Well, so you clearly leave one unmuted, but you full screen the other one in the second monitor, and like at least there's graphics, right? And there's graphics, and you can decide when do I mute. Are there subtitles? Subtitles are going to be clutch. If there are captions, that's going to be a big deal.
Yes, I'll do that thing where I start reading the caption instead of listening to what's on audio, and then I turn back to what's on audio, and I go, "Huh? Wait, what did they just say?"
Messes my brain so bad.
Actually, let me tell you about
ambitious.
Let me tell you about the biggest missed opportunity here. Okay, where is my announcement that? And closing out BlizzCon with a virtual concert is Virtual Train.
Yeah, the concert was never anything I ever went to, but it is a big glaring hole in the schedule this year.
I think Blink-182 was the last one I went to. It was the last performance I went out of my way to attend. Regret not going to the Linkin Park performance. But
yeah. Watched a little of Fits in the Tantrums last year. It was all right. I heard DJ Hodor. Like that was loud.
I heard bass. I wasn't sure who it was at any given point as I moved around the hall, but
that was the Hilton.
By the way, it wasn't last year. It was the year before. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay. It's 2020 is 18 months long. It's fine.
Is this what it when we're vaccinated, we get to like be normal again? Is that going to be the closest approximation of what it felt like to die in the snap and then come back in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Is that going to be it? Are we just going to we're going to be at BlizzCon 2022 and just be like, what a weird 2 years, am I right? Except the DJ will be going in the Hilton, so we'll be like, what a weird 2 years, am I right?
That is very accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. But yeah, we got it. We got the schedule. There'll be a lot to digest. I'm just like my takeaway from the schedule is just, wow, I think I'm going to be learning a lot more from blog posts and bullet points than I am from presentations themselves. But we'll see. But yeah, I think it's going to wrap it up for this episode of The Angry Chicken. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Huge shout out to our live audience hanging out here at twitch.tv/AngryMoveTV, holding down the chat room. Y'all are awesome. And yeah, thanks to our huge and awesome patrons for supporting our podcast here. If you want to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/TAC. I don't know. This week we'll call you the Cheers patrons or the Secret Passage patrons. If you want to whip your whiz bang out and support the show, you can do so over on the Patreon.
You're legally allowed.
It is an action, not a pickup line. If you want, huge thanks to our Patreon producers, Declan H and Cheesy Bob. Everything else can be found over at theangrychicken.com. You want to catch up on back catalog of episodes. Maybe you missed last week. Maybe you missed our 400th episode where Hat was here along with all of your favorite Angry Chicken faithful and regular guest hosts hanging out. Probably too many people for audio is really what that came down to, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Let's go back and catch that over at theangrychicken.com. But before we go, Hat, as our guest this week, where can people find you?
The hub of my activity is twitter.com/ridiculoushat. That's kind of where everything comes from. And
is
my
it the
profile
bang
is
of your
running
whiz?
That you're making me very uncomfortable. It's I don't whiz and tell. Is that how that works? That thing.
Not even if someone's like, where were you?
It's, where was your whiz? Just banging. I don't know.
I hear it now and I apologize.
No, it's content. This is content. This is what the people are here for. Yeah, I hope so. Yes. Please don't cancel your Patreon pledge. I promise I won't be back next week.
Exit survey. Laughed too hard from the whiz bang jokes. Sorry.
Yes. So you can find me twitter.com/ridiculoushat. Coin Concede is one of my podcasts. Vicious Syndicate, Data Reaper is the other one, and Hidden Aspects is the other one. So Coin Concede is for Hearthstone, Data Reaper is for Hearthstone, Hidden Aspects for Hades. Great game. I tweet a lot, and I'm probably in the same Hearthstone Discords as you if you are listening to this.
That was like the nicest way to say I'm watching you I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I am not. I will reply, but I won't watch.
I am
I catch up on
irregularly
all
seeing
my
what you type, is what you said. That's what you said. That's Discord at the end of the day.
If you want to make it weird.
Let's not make it weird and ask Jocelyn where the hell people can find all of the wonderful content that she's creating.
You can head on over to Joce Plays. That's JOCE Plays on both Twitter and Twitch. Go and check it out. If you guys are interested in Xbox Game Pass, we just talked about The Medium over on the Gamers Den. Really kind of spooky, creepy horror game. So go check that out.
Sick. I just cracked the surface of Control over the weekend while I was feeling very
that's
ill.
a really good one.
That game is
David
amazing.
Lynch vibes. Yeah, David Lynch vibes.
That
Super
was
Twin
a
Peaksy.
game where I felt people were overselling it to me, and so I stayed away from it. And then I started playing it over the weekend, and I was like, "You didn't sell it enough. This game is
it's really
good.
cool.
It is exceptional." That's my not Blizzard pick of the week.
Are we doing that now?
It's a really good one. Really good
play
one.
Control. Also, if you're PS Plus, it's free right now. So go.
And if you have an Android device, I've got good news and bad news. It's the same news. Slay the Spire is out on Android. You can play Slay the Spire on your phone. As of Wednesday, it came out.
Wow.
It was on iOS a while before.
Is that game like 6 years old at this point?
3, which is like 6, but less.
Okay. I mean, again, 2020 was basically 7 years, so please
That was like
excuse
8 years, yeah.
Yeah, but
work
I'm aware
sense
it's
of
been out
time.
for a while, and so I bought it, and I was like, oh, I won't play this that much. I was wrong. I was wrong about that. And there are no...
That's the bad news part, is that it takes up all your time.
No, that you want it to take up all your time. That's the bad news. And so far, I have been obliging those urges, and it is bad for my sleep schedule.
Gotcha. Well, folks, you can find this podcast and every single other one that I produce over at amove.tv. Into the Next is going to be interesting tomorrow. You should probably give that one a listen. If you want to hear some stern thoughts about Blizzard Entertainment and how they have continually kicked certain fans in the genital region.
Hi, Celestalon, who's in the chat right now. Hello.
Tune into the Nexus tomorrow because it'll be the polar opposite of this program. That's my preview for Into the Nexus.
That's Garrett's way of telling you, Celestalon, it's okay. We were really kind to Hearthstone.
Yes, we like Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But tomorrow, I'm
Rip
sure Garrett will
Heroes.
have plenty of jabs at Heroes.
Oh, will I? Anyways, yeah, so go check that out. There's plenty of other shows over at amove.tv. Go give them all a listen. That's going to wrap it up for this episode of The Angry Chicken. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Thank you so much, Team 5, for finally doing something wildly interesting with a classic and basic set. And that's going to do it. We'll see you next week for our pre-BlizzConline episode. But until then, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.